Tonight we return to the restive western Uganda districts of Kasese and Ntoroko, and we will be weighing in on the Rwenzururu King's remarks and, of course, the reaction of the CDF, General Katumba Wamala, who is in the region at the moment. That coming up on Newsnight. Welcome back. You're watching Newsnight with Andrew Mwenda. Andrew, CEO of the Independent Magazine and also the old man of the clan. Andrew, on Thursday last week, and we carried this story, it was a very good story for a journalist, but not very good for probably the kingdom and those around the king who felt he spoke, one, either too soon, or he shouldn't have spoken at that moment when he was very bitter and angry with the head of state and those around the head of state who, one, had pronounced that the Bakonjo were behind the killings in the region, and that they had arrested actually 3 of his kingdom officials, and the next day they actually picked another 2 officials, so 5 officials were arrested in that period just after he spoke.
But you see, first of all, kings are born, they are not made. I hope you know that.
And he was born king.
He was not born king, please. The Bakonjo have never had a king. Let me explain to you, because you see, I think at President Museveni, in his desire for votes, he has created a cultural mess in this country.
Explain that.
There was only one king in Buganda called the Kabaka. I think Museveni has installed Sebakoki, Sebaruli, Sebalisa, Sebadis and this. He went to Toro. Toro is a multi-ethnic kingdom comprising of Batoro, Batagwenda, Basongora, Bahenda, Batanuka, Banyabindi, Bamba and Bakonjo. So he comes, there have been differences in the kingdom, and I felt that some leaders in Toro in 1962 when they were writing the constitution and said that Omukama Arabaga Omotoro Nyakabara, that the king will always be a pure Motoro. They restricted the selection, not the king, rather the prime minister, the Omhikiru Arabaga Motoro Nyakabara. They said only perhaps Abahenda from Burasha, Abatanuka from Bonyangabu, and Abanyamwenge from Mwenge are the only ones who can provide a category, which was wrong. And it led to the Rwenzururu rebellion. Then Mokirane, one of the politicians there in Toro, the leading Bakonjo politician, announced himself a king. Please, even when Toro was going to be created as a kingdom, the crown prince of Bunyoro is the one who came and established the kingdom there. The Basongora who started the kingdom of Toro did not rise up and say, okay, me Musongora so and so I'm going to become the king. Kings are born. So when you see this gentleman here, what is his name?
Rwenzururu.
It's Rwenzururu King.
Mumbere.
Yes, Mumbere.
Charles, yes.
When you see him coming and making these statements of his, which are angry, it shows you that he lacks the right upbringing to speak with the honor, the dignity and prestige of a king. Have you ever seen Mutebi or Oyo? Oyo is also complaining in this same newspaper of Monitor.
Yes.
He said, I'm going on a hunger strike. If you look at Mutebi or even the king of Bunyoro, how they will conduct themselves, it will of course be different. So this man is not a king. He's a Museveni created king. In fact, he should be praising Museveni for forging something called the Rwenzururu Kingdom 2. What is the point of contention? The Bakonjo were subjects of the kingdom of Toro and the king of Toro. They said that they want to be singular and appoint their own king. Why don't the same Bakonjo with the Rwenzururu kingdom believe that the Bamba also have the right to establish their own king? Is it called the Mnyabundubugyo? Something like that.
Yes.
Why don't they want the Banyabindu to have their own king and the Basongora to have their own king? What is good for Bakonjo is also good for Bamba. What is good for the goose is always good for the gun.
But is that the solution to the current
I don't think, in fact,
that we can,
well, you can clearly see
that we can
with the
apportion various pieces of land, which include some of the Toro kingdom, which I know your king is now fasting over, to different groups and ethnic groups, and then have, you know, ethnic leaders in these groups.
Maurice,
then that causing a crisis?
The answer is self-explanatory. Museveni thought that by restoring these political, rather cultural institutions,
yes,
and saying that they will not be political, he was solving a problem. But we clearly see he's creating a problem, because now every single ethnic group claims, even those that never had kings, now they want to cultural institution. Why? First of all, I believe, including the kingdom of Toro and the kingdom of Uganda, the state of Uganda should not subsidize kingdoms at all. President Museveni at State House, he buys them cars, gives them monthly allowances, fuels those cars, provides them soldiers, pays them salaries, finances their trips abroad, the food they eat. If the people of Toro, Buganda, Bunyaruguru, wherever it is, Lango, want a cultural monarch, let them pay for it. This idea that Ugandans should demand for a cultural institution, then all of us taxpayers begin financing it, is what is creating the problem. Let me ask you, if Batoro have a king, and the entire paraphernalia of the kingdom is financed by State House, which is what is happening today. I don't know much about Buganda, but the government, I'm sure, picks many bills for Mengo. Bunyoro, same thing. If we have a Karamojongo, why don't we also get one? Because we get more money. If we have a Gisu, why don't we create our own king? So I should tell you that the politics of Uganda, so-called democratic politics, and specifically the politics of President Yoweri Museveni, is detrimental to stability in Uganda, because he, in trying to answer to the whims and claims of every single ethnic group for a cultural monarch, he's creating chaos. Now what is Mumbere saying? He's saying for him, he's king of the whole of Ntoroko, the whole of Wamba, which is Windwujo, and the whole of Kasese.
That he had no MOU with the government when he was enthroned king,
let me ask you, that
his kingdom would only stick to Kasese.
Let us challenge Mumbere. In Kasese, there are a large population of Batoro. In Kasese, there is a large population of people who call themselves Basongora, but Basongora are really Batoro. They are pastoralists of Toro. Then they are Bakonjo. In Wamba, there are a large community of Bamba, Batuku, who are part of the Batoro community, and Banyabindi. Mumbere is saying that in his understanding with the government of Uganda, he must have suzerainty over all that territory of communities who don't accept his suzerainty. Why? If he says yes, he's in disagreement with Museveni, does Museveni impose him on other cultural groups who don't acknowledge him? The king of Toro has a legitimate claim over Bukonjo or Kasese,
yes,
because Kasese and Wamba, which is now Bundubugyo, and Ntoroko, were parts of Toro Kingdom as per 1966. Two, as per 1966 or 62 Constitution, there was not a kingdom or a king called Rwenzururu. This nonsense, if I was the one in charge, I would immediately disband it. Because now it is creating unnecessary conflicts where they do not exist.
Andrew, well said, but I need to add a disclaimer that you're from Toro, and
I am the deputy king of Toro, so I can speak with authority.
Yes.
But you see, me, I'm backed by the authority of history. Uganda has a constitution of 1962, Morris.
Yes.
In that constitution, there were 4 kingdoms that were clearly established and 1 territory. There was the kingdom of Toro, the kingdom of Buganda was number 1, the kingdom of Toro number 2, the kingdom of Nyoro number 3, and the kingdom of Ankole number 4. There was a territory of Busoga. Those were 5. Then everybody here in Uganda started wanting to have a king because some community had a king. So the Bakiga, you remember your people?
Yes.
They appointed something, Rutachirwa, Ngabo Yakabari.
Yes.
The Rwot of Acholi, the this of Lango. Every single community started up appointing a chief. So in the 1962 Constitution, all of a sudden every community had a king. But the Bakonjo, as far as I remember, they never had a king. The Baba did not have a king. All of them paid homage to the king of Toro, Rukid III, who is the grandfather of Oyo.
All right, and we'll keep it that way. Well, we'll continue this discussion on the traditions and the monetization of the cultural institutions. That discussion on another night. That was Newsnight.